Tim's News Explosion. 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 Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion on this Easter Monday, 18th of April, 2022. I'm back to untwist the established news narratives of the week after 2 weeks without a news explosion. As regular viewers will know, the past 2 Mondays have featured Wilm's Front interview shows. So back every Monday from now on with a news explosion. We are live as always on the Wilmsfront YouTube, D Live and Odyssey channels, as well as on the Interactive Entropy software, where you can ask me a direct question, or even better yet, send through a super chat. I've put the link into the live chats there. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where Scott Morrison spent Good Friday at the end of the first week of the federal election campaign. There's another 5 weeks to go until Saturday, May 21, which is the polling day. So he went to a church service with the member for Chisholm, Gladys Liu. Chisholm is the most marginal seat in Victoria. And then in the evening, he went to a Passover dinner with Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg. His seat of Kooyong is under threat from a Teal independent, Dr. Monique Ryan. But on Saturday, he was asked again about his captain's pick for the Northern Beaches-based seat of Warringah, Catherine Deves, who is the founder of Save Women's Sport. She's regularly appeared on Sky News programs and done a lot of interviews about her organization, which wants to make sure that only biological women compete in women's sports. She scrubbed her social media when she was pre-selected for the seat of Warringah. Well, there was, when I say selected for a pre-selection, I've gone through on all of these shows. I've had enough of you, Violator. You're just really annoying. Hello to all my other regulars there, such as Naughty Design there. And I also see Senator Slayer has popped up as well. So yes, Catherine Deves, she scrubbed her social media when she was pre-selected. I went through on my program the New South Wales Liberal pre-selection saga, where Scott Morrison's man on the New South Wales State Executive, Alex Hawke, stalled the members being able to participate in pre-selections for the federal election. So there was a concocted crisis. There was a federal intervention where Scott Morrison and Dominic Perrottet and a former New South Wales Party president were part of a subcommittee which chose candidates for about 12 seats, and Catherine Deves was the selection for Warringah. Now, the Liberals are not going to win back that seat. Zali Steggall, the Teal independent, they're also known as Climate 200 independents or Voices of Independents. They're all receiving funding from the Climate 200 founder, Simon Holmes a Court. Scott Morrison, he stood by her throughout the entire week, and he again defended her on Saturday because New South Wales Liberal moderate, the state treasurer, Matt Keane, he tweeted on Friday night, "There is no place in a mainstream political party for bigotry. Coming out as trans would be highly challenging, especially for kids, and political leaders should be condemning the persecution of people based on their gender, not participating in it." And so this was the Sky News report on Saturday.
Campaigning in Victoria, but facing questions about one of his hand-picked candidates in New South Wales. The Prime Minister under pressure from within his own ranks to dump Liberal candidate for Warringah, Catherine Dives, over her comments about transgender people. New South Wales Liberal Treasurer Matt Keane has branded her views horrendous, calling for her to be disendorsed. But former Prime Minister Tony Abbott says it's all been a pile-on. The Prime Minister standing by his candidate.
The comments that Catherine has made, obviously, were insensitive. Now, I don't share Matt's view. I share Tony Abbott's view.
Senator Slate asked, "What did I miss with Violator?" I was just being pathetic, nitpicking about everything, including the microphone. I don't know. Did a brief sound check with Margot before the show went to air. She nearly didn't make it to the sound check because she's still half an hour behind in Adelaide. Didn't realise that the show starts at 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time, which is 8 p.m. Adelaide time. So did a sound check at the end. So yeah, Violator has been banned from the Wilmsfront channel. Had enough of them, and so yeah, we move on. So I keep getting sidetracked here from the main story that I'm discussing. Yes, exactly. So many online trolls here. Is Margot going to be booting everyone like she used to? No, I booted Violator there because I was just sick of them. So I monitor the live chat as well. Yeah, so Catherine Deves, as I mentioned, she'd done numerous online interviews. Even though she scrubbed her social media when she was pre-selected, the internet is forever. And so a lot of mainstream media journalists and activists have managed to get a hold of her Twitter archive. One of the first tweets that was unearthed, it was by LGBT activist Pauline Pantsdown, aka Simon Hunt. So this is a meme by her. Catherine Deves, LNP Warringah candidate on the Pride flag. I get triggered by it. I see it on social media and I think, what now? What are they demanding now? For me, seeing I'll use one of her terms, mutilated Pride flag, because it's got the poo brown added to it as well as the black stripe for LGBT people of color, and then it's got the transgender colors as well. I doubt that the white bit there stands for white people, to make it fully inclusive, but that was the first tweet from our archive to be unearthed, and the main two journalists who've been basically drip feeding every day something that they've unearthed from her social media or interviews. Samantha Maiden of news.com.au. So if we go down here, it's got here the headline here: PM's pick links trans men to sex offenders, because in a tweet she claimed that 50% of trans identifying or trans women who were biological men were sex offenders. And then it has up here that another unearthed is that's always the headline. She claims many trans children were on the autism spectrum in the latest unearthed comments. And Samantha Maiden has also commented, posted about the internal Liberal brawls over her pre-selection, because the inner city Liberal MPs in Sydney, Dave Sharma in Wentworth and Trent Zimmerman in North Sydney, are under threat from these Teal independents. They're the other journalist over at the Nine newspapers, Michael Kozil. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's also done heaps of stories on Catherine Deves. The latest is that she's not going to be withdrawing as a candidate. She said, "I'm not going anywhere." Oh, well, she's obviously not going anywhere. She's not going to win the seat. And Liberal candidate Deves invoked stolen generations in deleted trans tweets. And then there is Tony Abbott saying he admires her. Go further down here. Liberal candidate apologizes for comparing anti-trans activism to Nazi resistance, because in an interview she said opposing the trans agenda was like being in the French Resistance. And if we go further down here, we'll see if there's any more. But yeah, both of these two journalists, about half their stories are on Catherine Deves. And also Peter Van Onslow on Network 10 has done a bit of reporting on her previous comments.
Campaigning in Victoria, but facing questions about one of his hand-picked candidates in New South Wales.
10 News First has obtained further footage of the Liberal candidate, widening her attack to the entire LGBTI community.
I feel like this is a fight against a hydra. We cut off one head and we end up with two. So we need to go for the immortal head and bury it forever chop it off and bury it under a rock.
Yes, so that's another clip. There's lots of clips of various things that she said in interviews. And Scott Morrison, although he's not going to dump her as a candidate, has earlier last week he tempered his support for her views, and he also backed away from supporting Liberal Senator Claire Chandler's bill to ban biological men, trans women, from competing in women's sports.
You praise your candidate for Warringah, Catherine Deves, saying that she is right on the money and that she's just talking common sense. You've also said this week that you share her views. In deleted social media posts, she describes transgender children as surgically mutilated and sterilised. In another post, she said she was triggered by the rainbow pride flag. Which of these views exactly do you share?
Well, she has withdrawn and apologised for those views.
She's apologised after we reported on the posts today, having previously deleted them very quietly.
Not views that I was aware of. I was referring to the bill that has been brought forward by Senator Chandler. It's a private member's bill. The government doesn't have any plans for that to be a government bill. It's a private member's bill. And I've told you very clearly what my views on that bill are. So I've been very upfront with you.
Now, obviously, there is a important discussion that needs to happen with trans women's participation in women's sports, and it's been brought back into the spotlight with Leah Thomas's big wins in the NCAA swimming. She's known as Aqua Ma'am, and that has given how much she won the women's swimming championship by. It's raised a lot of question whether it's completely fair, given that she matured, went through puberty as a male, whether it's clear to most that she still has a biological advantage. But obviously Catherine Deves, with the other things she said about transgender people. And Scott Morrison has even said this, that she hasn't approached this discussion sensitively. I mean, she's apologized for her language that she's used, very hyperbolic language. And obviously, she's, as I said, she's not going to win Warringah. The thing is, she's defined by this issue. She says that she supports LGB people. So she's one of these people that, believes that homosexual rights movement shouldn't include the T's. But I don't know what her other policies are. I mean, what's her policies on the cost of living, taxes, climate change, national security? I don't know what her views are on other important issues of our time. And some political analysts have said that Scott Morrison is hoping that her comments will resonate in outer suburban seats where they'll be viewed as common sense, but she's not running there. And for people out in the suburbs, I doubt that there's a trans woman in every sporting club in the suburbs. Cost of living, national security is still the biggest issues in this election. And it's Anthony Albanese's implosion in the first week, which is why Scott Morrison is making a comeback in the latest polls. So on Sunday night, in the Nine newspapers, in Nine News, the Resolve monitor, which Nine does, shows that Scott Morrison has increased as preferred PM. He's at 38%, Albanese at 30%, and the primary votes have changed. I think it's in this report, later in this report here. Takes a while for the graphics to load here. But here it is here. Primary support for the coalition rose from 34 to 35%, and the voters have cut their support from the opposition from 38 to 34%. The Resolve monitor doesn't calculate a two-party preferred vote because they don't do it because there's still a lot of undecideds there. Dawna said there needs to be a pregnancy test type device that shows your biological gender, except we know this is politically opposed to biological. Well, I know that to deal with the trans issues, some sporting organizations have testosterone and estrogen tests. So obviously Albanese got off to a shocker last Monday when he didn't know what the unemployment rate was or what the RBA cash rate was. And it just got worse from there when he unveiled actual policies. So his Labor's border protection policy, he said that he supported boat turnbacks, therefore you wouldn't need offshore processing. He later clarified that said, oh yes, we'll keep onshore processing. He was just making the point that if we turn back the boats, then we won't need to put people in offshore processing. Then on Sunday, he was asked if he supported Operation Sovereign Borders and temporary protection visas. He said yes. Then he came back and said, actually, we support Operation Sovereign Borders, but not temporary protection visas. But of course, temporary protection visas were a cornerstone of Operation Sovereign Borders when Tony Abbott was Prime Minister and Scott Morrison Immigration Minister, because temporary protection visas don't guarantee people who come to Australia by boat permanent visas in Australia. And then his healthcare policy, he pledged that he would open 50 urgent care medical clinics. It's basically a similar commitment to Kevin Rudd's GP super clinic promise in 2007. Kevin Rudd promised 64 GP super clinics. He only delivered 35. Rudd is promising... see, I'm getting confused. Albanese is promising 50 urgent care clinics. He says that this is necessary to take the pressure off hospital emergency departments for things like broken bones. But the thing is, this policy is opposed by the AMA, who believe that this will disadvantage GPs because these new urgent clinics will have better bulk billing arrangements. That's what the AMA argues. And also Albanese claimed that this policy was fully costed, which it wasn't. Katie Gallagher, the shadow finance spokeswoman, also one of the Mean Girls, had to clarify that no, this is not fully costed. And remember, his budget reply promised to have a nurse in every nursing home, registered nurse in every nursing home. The Shadow Attorney General Mark Dreyfus said probably we're not going to be able to fulfill that promise. And Anthony Albanese, last night, he decided to make an appearance at Bluesfest at Byron Bay, hoping for a rock star reception. The Age and Sydney Morning Herald, a headline had already been written. Anthony Albanese with partner Jodie Hayden received a rock star reception at Bluesfest on Sunday night. This was published at 7:01 p.m. Apparently, they were all shouting "Albo, Albo." Let's see what actually happened. And now the Twitter drips, who are the most militant Labor and Albo shills, were trying to claim that the various videos that were uploaded amplified the boos and claimed that there was more cheering, which of course this Simpsons meme was shared around, went viral. With Albo saying, "Are they booing me?" No, they're saying "Albo, Albo." Literally, the meme came to life, and obviously Albo and his team, they didn't realise that the hippies at Byron Bay have turned against Labor over the past 2 years, given that Labor has been the biggest supporters of the pandemic lockdowns, the mask and vaccine mandates, and shutting down the arts industry. And so, of course, they're going to boo Anthony Albanese when he gets up on stage. And yeah, they booed him right through his paying respect to the traditional owners and pledging a voice to Parliament. They did cheer when he promised increased arts funding. He was there to introduce Jimmy Barnes, who was performing Working Class Man. I'm surprised that Jimmy Barnes hasn't made it more gender inclusive to have and re-recorded the song as Working Class People or Working Class Person. Now, Scott Morrison, he's had a few gaffes of his own the last couple of days. Yesterday, he referred to, I think it was a female journalist, as Mr. Speaker 3 times during a press conference. And he also said that the job seeker payment had increased from $40 per week to $46 per week. It's actually risen from $40 per day to $46 per day. The Labor opposition, they've annoyed the Council on Social Services by saying that they're not going to raise job seeker further. And he's also, Morrison has been dogged by his, another election commitment he's failed to fulfill to legislate a federal integrity body. And also, what's dogged him is the $500,000 plus payout to Alan Tudge's former staffer, and also the staffer he had an affair with, Rochelle Miller. This payment is because there was apparently another Liberal MP who harassed her, and it's apparently all inclusive of all the other bullying that she alleged happened to her when she worked in Canberra. And also the Labor opposition, I guess in a sign of desperation, they're trying to resurrect the Mediscare campaign from 2016. Scott Morrison announced Anne Ruston Scott Morrison announced his new health minister, if he's to get re-elected, as Anne Ruston, who's a Liberal South Australian senator. She previously said that Medicare funding is unsustainable, and so Labor opposition saying, see, there's still a secret plot to cut or privatise Medicare. Now, going on to I've mentioned the Teal Climate 200 Voices of Independence. So they're running mainly in inner city seats held by the Liberals in Melbourne and Sydney. One of the Teal candidates is running against Liberal Tim Wilson in the seat of Goldstein. And Zoe Daniel, in the past, she's a former ABC journalist. She has made some comments critical of Israel and the Jewish lobby. This was put up by the state Liberal member for Brighton, James Newbury, called The Real Zoe Daniel. So her operations minister said the Jewish right-wing lobby group should simply shut up. And Zoe Daniel said after Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, he is satisfying his wealthy Jewish donors. And Zoe Daniel signed an open letter calling for the right of journalists to publicly and openly express personal solidarity with the Palestinian cause. And Zoe Daniel this week to make amends with because there's a fair amount of Jewish voters in Goldstein, had a meeting with the Anti-Defamation Commission Chair Devere Abramovich. So in a written statement, Daniel said that, yes, absolutely, I apologize. I'm deeply sorry to have caused any further pain or concern among our Jewish communities and to see the weaponization of Jewish trauma for political gain. In a written statement, Daniel also said mischaracterization of Jewish people, including myths such as they're enjoying outsized wealth or power, must be identified immediately as the starting point for much worse. Daniel said political jibes referring to the Holocaust were unacceptable. When the Holocaust is misused and weaponized to score points in an argument, we devalue this horrific event and cause great pain to Holocaust survivors and their descendants. She also stressed her support for the current protections in Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act against hate speech, which her opponent, Liberal Tim Wilson, has supported softening. We also had the launch of the United Australia Party federal election campaign at Clive Palmer's Coolum Resort. Though in rehearsals, Clive Palmer fell off the stage and had to be rushed to hospital. luckily there wasn't an earth tremor in the Sunshine Coast when that happened, because he would have landed with an almighty thud. He was rehearsing on stage with the United Australia Party leader, Craig Kelly. I mean, if they both fell off the stage, there would definitely be a mini earthquake. And apparently, when Clive Palmer addressed the National Press Club, he also had issues with the stairs as well. Now, they at this campaign launch, the United Australia Party unveiled more policies. Obviously, their main message has been freedom forever, getting rid of the mandates, lockdowns, and basically going back to 2019 normal. But they unveiled a few quite big government policies. At the press club, Clive Palmer promised that he'd cap mortgage rates at 3% and also a 15% tax on iron ore exports. Also, the UAP want to make university free and want to abolish all HECS and increase the pension, the old age pension, which obviously everyone likes when politicians offer free stuff. But where's the money coming from? I mean, their ads have said that we're so much in debt. I mean, the net debt is going to be close to $1 trillion, and yet they're promising more government spending. Also this week, we had George Christensen. He has, he's retiring as the LNP member for Dawson, but he's changed his mind and decided to run on the One Nation Queensland Senate ticket. He's going to be in the unwinnable third position there. He's obviously his presence on the ticket will bolster Pauline Hanson's Senate re-election campaign for another 6 years. A lot of media commentators have said that he's only running so he can get a $105,000 taxpayer one-off payment, which, if they're so outraged about George Christensen getting money through this loophole, then why don't they close it then? Why do they still have it? If a sitting member recontests and loses, why haven't they changed it so they're not entitled to an extra payment? And now, going into the back end of the show, we've had the Twitter drips have another vile pile on an ABC female presenter. Fazia Ibrahim, her personal Twitter account lists labeling critics as Labor troll thugs and lobotomized shitheads. They were published on Twitter, and so the drips are demanding that she be disciplined, claiming that she'd violated the ABC's social media policies. And even though this was obviously a private list that was leaked, and there's ABC personalities who are posting all sorts of lefty stuff openly on their social media accounts, but apparently the leaking of this list is it's apparently proof to the drips that the ABC has an anti-Labor bias. They've gone after in the past Lee Sales for having a pro-LNP bias. She's deactivated her Twitter. Fazia Ibrahim, she deactivated her Twitter as well. And also Lisa Miller, co-host of ABC Breakfast, has. These Twitter drips, they're really vicious against women they view as traitors who don't have the views that these drips think that women should have. And especially women of color. There was some really vile and racist tweets made about Fazia Ibrahim because she made these lists to make lists of the people who are abusing her on Twitter. Now, would any of this behavior change if Elon Musk, if his takeover bid for Twitter was successful? So the Twitter board is doing all it can to basically try and thwart Elon Musk's takeover bid. There's also been some fake news by this Saudi prince who says he rejected Elon Musk's offer to buy his Twitter shares, given that he sold all his personal shares in 2019. Elon Musk, the eccentric Tesla billionaire, currently the richest man in the world, he wants Twitter to have free speech again. And, well, if his takeover bid is successful, then he's certainly got to walk the talk and unban President Trump, Gavin McInnes, Laura Loomer, Miley Yiannopoulos. The list goes on and on. So obviously, I hope that Elon's bid is successful, because there's already been a mini meltdown, and Twitter has it's basically been another big tech company that has been captive to its woke employees. And there's also been commentators who have said that Elon's free speech pledge for Twitter is a threat to democracy. That's what one of the worst neocons in America, Max Boot, claimed. So there will definitely be a meltdown on Twitter if Scott Morrison manages to win the election. We'll see what Newspoll says in about half an hour time. There is the first Sky News People's Forum on Wednesday evening with Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese taking questions from voters in Brisbane. I think it's in Brisbane, but yes, we'll see. Anthony Albanese, his form on taking questions from members of the public hasn't been good so far. He refused to back out of taking a question from a voter in Perth recently. And then tomorrow night, Sky News host Paul Murray is having his Queensland Senate pub test, where Clive, Campbell Newman, Pauline Hanson, Bob Catter will all be in the same room. I'm not sure if Amanda Stoker, the third on the LNP ticket, will be there as well. Yes, free speech. It's extremely dangerous to our democracy. Yes, I've seen that. What is it? Media line. That was, what is that? That was a for reference. This, I think it was Sinclair Broadcasting Corporation. All their affiliates had this fake news is extremely dangerous to democracy. All their affiliates read out the exact same message. Parabat says we have a dumbocracy, and Hadron says, yes, of course, people having a say in things destroys democracy, because yes. As Justin Trudeau says, people are allowed to express unacceptable views, and which are not the current facts or science. TM. Savnik Pureblood says deodorant is extremely dangerous to our far left dictatorship. Tomorrow IV says all tyrants want free speech and dissent. Not sure if I follow there. Now, on the COVID front, nobody really cared that, BA4 or BA5 was found in the Melbourne poo on Good Friday, because, there's all these different sub-variants and, sub-Omicron mutations that are popping up there. We had changes in the Federal Biosecurity Act today, which meant that cruise ships can resume operations in Australia. You don't need a negative PCR test to come and go from Australia, but more importantly, the unjabbed can leave Australia. to a destination, a country that will let them in. Of course, if the unjabbed, if they want to come back, they've got to do 7 days in the quarantine camps because, well, hardly anyone staying in them because only the jabbed have been allowed to leave and come back to the country. So I don't know, maybe it's some sort of ploy that if the unjabbed go overseas and return, it's some business for the quarantine camps. Also, next weekend, speaking of elections, the French presidential runoff between incumbent Emmanuel Macron and challenger Marine Le Pen. Let's hope, third time lucky for Marine Le Pen. Let's hope that she can finally win. It would just, it would certainly trigger the Europhiles and the Euro globalists as well. So will obviously that'll certainly be a much bigger election on a global scale than the Australian federal election. I'll be back later in the week with Wilmsfront, Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Melbourne time on the Wilmsfront channels with independent Senate candidate Damien Richardson. It was supposed to be last Thursday, but postponed to this Thursday. Then on Friday, Trad Tasman Talk with Stephen Berry, 6 p.m. Melbourne time. I'll be going through with Stephen. He is firing from office wokes for having the wrong opinion. Well, his co-workers, they found his Mr. Berry channel and didn't like what he said. Stephen Berry, in his new spare time, has been started writing again. He's relaunching his Mr. Berry show. I'm going to be republishing his content on the Unshackled as well. And don't forget that we're going to be having our own live stream coverage on election night, Saturday 21st of May at 6 p.m. Melbourne time when the polls closed on the East Coast. It will be myself, Richard Wilsoncroft, Stephen Berry, Kyle Kutazi, and there'll also be other regular panelists throughout the evening. All right, good night, everybody. Stay safe and stay sane. Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.